Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to load some 410. Haven't done 410 in a while. We're going to be doing a 5/8 ounce load of bismuth. Okay, these are going to be in Winchester AA HS hulls. We'll get right to this. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button down there to the bottom right, and then also there's a little bell that you can click on too, and it'll actually give you a notification when I upload a new video. I don't know, if you're interested in seeing these videos, I'm trying to do, about one a week on reloading, patterning things for 410, 28. Getting a lot of requests that I may break into the 20 and 12 at some point. But right now, just focusing on sub-gauge stuff. That's what interests me. But anyway, let me get you on this side of the bench and we'll start putting these together. After that, I do have patterns from this load. So we'll take a look at those too and review those, and then discuss maybe the good, the bad, and the ugly of bismuth in the 410. All right, so come on around here and let's get started. All right, so let's go over some components that we're using here. Got my bag of 410 AA HS hulls. These are hulls that I bought a flat of Super X 8.5. As a matter of fact, there's a box right here. So these, you can't buy these hulls by themselves. So I get these from just shooting factory lead loads. That's the hull. The wad is Claybuster AA 410 HS wads. Basically it's a clone of the Winchester wad, right? And then powder we're using is Win 296. Same thing as H110. And then of course the shot, I have a little tiny bag of number 5 bismuth. I got this from BPI. It was running about $16 a pound. I'm sure it was around 17 something once we include shipping. Primers are Cheddite primers. Now the data that I get this from comes from Hodgdon's website. It calls for a Winchester AA HS hull, 16 grains of powder. The Winchester wad, 5/8 ounce of bismuth. It also calls for a Win 209 primer. Everything I've ever seen, the Cheddite 2000 primers will substitute back and forth. Pressure shouldn't change more than a couple hundred PSI one way or the other. If that, it actually, I think they test just a touch lower. But anyway, this thing comes in at about 1,200 feet per second. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a few together here in the press. And so I chose number 5 shot because I'm also going to put some of this in the 28 gauge. I've never loaded or shot bismuth, so I thought I would give it a shot here. So I think number 5 is, I chose it because you're going to get decent pellet count. There's 122 pellets of number 5 bismuth in 5/8 ounces. So I thought that would be sufficient for ducks inside of, say, 30, 35 yards. Now, this stuff doesn't run out of gas until about 40 when you push it to 1,200 feet per second. So I know some of you folks are probably like, man, I wish he would not just use his fingers. All right, so 272.3, that's what I'm gonna go with. If I put one more, it goes to 274. We're gonna pour this into the shell. And as you can see, 5/8 ounce gets in there pretty nice. If you do a couple little taps, it really settles it down. So we'll put it on the pre-crimp here, get everything lined up. Again, I'm not gonna really mash it down. That's about as far as we need to go right there. And then we'll put it in, give it a twist. There's you a nice, good looking 410 crimp. Got a nice little taper. So obviously the machine's set up, you know, good for this load right now. So, you know, on the shot size, number 6 may be better for the 410, just because of pellet density. So, you know, but I wanted to order one bag and not get a bunch of money into bismuth, just to see what it was going to look like in the 410 and the 28. But this should be good for, like I said, ducks. I'm sure you could also do, you know, pheasants, upland game with this load, whether it be 5s or 6s. They carry just a, you know, obviously a little bit more oomph than steel. But they cost a bit more than steel too. So all right, get him in there. See, it's just right up to the top. But the thing about this is that hull is so narrow. Give it a couple of taps and let it settle down. Now you got plenty of room for a crimp. No problem. All right. There we go. So you got your nice, you know, and these shells, I think these are twice fired shells. So they got a little bit of, you know, debris from powder burn or whatever on them. So, you know, 410 hulls in general, they're never the prettiest looking hull after you shoot them, just by the powders that they use. A lot of times it'll leave residue up on the ends. I've got some that are just black up here. The hull itself is good. I mean, it's not crisped out, you know, all the way. But anyway, so we'll get a few of these together. 1,200 feet per second, you know, that's sufficient. It's about what most 410 loads are going to run. There is data on Hodgson's website for little gun powder, and you know, we may look into something like that too. Who knows? There's always options. Always options. There's also data for Remington hulls, and I think Federal hulls also. That one's being a little stubborn. I'm going to reweigh that and make sure. We were at 274. Let me take one out. Let me give it a couple taps. There we go. Now we're much better. I just put it all in there too much. But anyway, there you go. That is a 5/8 ounce number 5 bismuth in the 410, 1,200 feet per second, published load on Hodgson's website. So I have gone out to the farm and I've patterned some of these. I've got patterns on the other side of the shop. What I'll do is I'll take you over there. We'll go over these patterns and see what they look like, and see how effective or ineffective this load may be for us. So I'll see you on the other side of the shop in just a second. All right. First off, I want to apologize if you hear any popping and creaking. That's the wind blowing this door. I can't control that. I don't have a big high-end microphone set up to do all this. But so, wow, here we go. So this is at 40 yards. Now, I started patterning this at 40 yards because I thought to myself, hey, this is number 5 bismuth. This stuff is, you know, 1.5 inch gel penetration out to about 35, 36 yards at 1,200 feet per second. So this should be viable at 40 yards. Let me pattern this at 40 yards. It would be great to have 122 pellets, you know, pattern at 40 yards. I had 3 chokes that I used. I used a Briley extended skeet choke. I used the factory modified, which was an extended modified choke. And then I also used a factory flush full choke. Didn't talk about this earlier, but the gun that I used to pattern these loads was a TriStar Pump 410. So, one thing I learned about the TriStar Pump 410 that I had never really patterned this gun is the point of impact is a little low for me, so I need to put a shim in that gun. So this pattern right here, this is 40 yards with the skeet choke, which I didn't expect it to do much. And the pattern is a little low on this, but I just put 30-inch circle where the most shot was. And obviously, this is unacceptable. There's only 62 pellets on the whole entire board. So, you know, that's less than, well, that's about exactly half of what's in the load. 122 in the load. So, anyway, just nothing spectacular to look at at all. Right? So let's look at the next one. Okay, so this is modified choke at 40 yards. There's 68 pellets total on the whole entire sheet. That means, you know, there's almost half of the load is somewhere else. Again, I think the pattern is probably a little lower, but we do have flyers up into the right, over to the left, right, up in the top. You know, maybe it's more that way. Who knows? All I know is trying to, I don't know, to think that you could do something with that at 40 yards is, I don't know, in my eyes, you're just looking to wound something, you know. But anyway, modified choke, 40 yards, 5/8 ounce, number 5 bismuth out of a 410. Let's look at the next one. Okay. Not a whole lot better. This is a factory flush TriStar full choke at 40 yards. We do see some compression of the shot compared to the other two. But again, we've got shot way up here. We've got shot over here. We've got shot down here. I still think the thing is shooting just a touch low. It wasn't until I saw this pattern until I realized, you know, maybe this thing's not hitting exactly where I want it to. We do see a bit of compression, maybe not so much as that, even the modified. You can, you know, pause it, rewind, and go back and look at the other pattern. But again, I'm not wanting to put this kind of pattern out at a duck at 40 yards, even if the pellets may actually, you know, work. So all right, so here's what I did. After seeing this, I said, you know what? Maybe 40 is just too much to ask out of this particular load, out of this particular gun. Let me move into 30, you know, and let's see what happens there with the modified and the full. Wasn't really even concerned with skeet at that point. So let's take a look at those at 30 yards. Wow. Like I say on a lot of these pattern videos, wow, what a difference 10 yards makes. So this is modified choke. There's 104 pellets on the paper. You know, there's some that are just outside the 30-inch circle, but that's a pretty decent pattern. I would be comfortable with that pattern right there for sure. at 30 yards. At 35, you wouldn't think it would be that much more open, but we've already saw what 40 looks like, you know? And it's amazing to me at how fast this stuff, you know, goes out. Obviously, it's much like lead. It's very different than steel. It's very different than any kind of tungsten-based HW1315 or TSS for sure. But modified choke, this is the extended modified choke on the TriStar pump. So let's look at full. All right. So that's factory full. It's a flush choke out of that TriStar. I'll tell you, I mean, obviously it's compressed, it's tighter, but it also seems to have a few more flyers. Matter of fact, there's only 103 pellets on the whole entire page. There was 104 with many more closer on the modified. And it could be the different types of chokes. But anyway, obviously it's compressed. It's not a terrible pattern. You know, there's a couple of open splotchy places. It's very condensed in the center. Now, that will kill a bird, no problem, at 30 yards. And again, you would think at 35, man, this stuff would just barely start to open up. But we know at 40, this stuff is just crazy. But anyway, so 30 yards looks pretty good. I tell you what, let's go back to the bench and we'll do kind of a review of everything that we've looked at. Kind of give you my thoughts, my opinion on what I'm seeing, and we'll go from there. All right, what'd you think about that? Pretty interesting, right? So one thing I wanted to show you is I grabbed the gun. So this is the TriStar pump that I'm doing the shooting with. Mainly the choke, because some people are going to be like, man, what kind of choke was that? So this is the factory extended choke that comes with this gun. It's not marked, but I have measured it and it comes out to be a, you know, basically choke down to what a modified restriction would be. A lot of people may ask, where in the world do you get that gun? I've never seen one of those. You can order a wood version of this gun online through dealers. Your local gun shop may have one, but Walmart actually has, well, I don't know what they have now, but they have had a lot of these guns. It's very inexpensive. It was less than $300. And that choke is the only choke that comes with the gun. It doesn't even come with an improved cylinder or a full choke. That's it. And I'm sure that's why the pricing is where it's at. It's been an okay gun. There's been a couple of times where I didn't want to grab the hull to eject, but the more I shoot it, the better it works. But anyway, little low point of impact for me. So I have to get a shim from my G2 Viper and put in there because the G2 Viper automatic, I ain't to put shims nowhere. I just point that gun and it hits where I'm looking. But anyway, so we got the choke and that kind of stuff out of the way. So let's talk about 410 and bismuth. From the patterns that I'm seeing, I would be perfectly fine with taking, you know, this load to a duck blind if I knew that I was going to be hunting over decoys and I knew my shots weren't going to be more than, say, 30, 35 yards, okay? Now, what do we do to, you know, change that? You could possibly go to a number 6 shot. The problem with that is your range is going to be brought down. At that point, 35 yards is probably as effective as it would be, just because the density of the shot is lower because the shot's smaller. And, you know, it's only going 1,200 feet per second the same way. You do have many more pellets. You'll end up with about 155, 154, 155 number 6 bismuth, which does give you a few more pellets. But I was just hoping, you know, and a lot of times as reloaders, we see stuff or we think of stuff and we're like, man, that ought to work great. And on paper, a lot of times it looks great. You know, if you could take 122 pellets and put them in a 30-inch circle all the time, I mean, yeah, that would be great. And you can do it with TSS, but if you want to crank out, you know, $2 a shot, you can. But anyway, another point I want to make is this particular gun with this particular choke. You may be able to take the same exact load, put it in your 410 over and under, or your 410, matter of fact, even your Cobra 2, you know, or your 1100 or your 870 or anything that you may have, your Mossberg 500. And it may pattern completely differently for you. So the thing is, you know, would I intentionally go out and purchase, you know, $16 a pound bismuth, the wads and everything that goes along with it to load up this load specifically to go duck hunting? I mean, if you didn't have TSS as an option, I do think it's much better than steel, obviously. You know, especially if you load number 6 shot in there, with the pellet count and the range. So yeah, I do think that it would be great for the duck blind. But you know, everybody's got their own different take on it. I'm sure it will kill just fine. Matter of fact, I've read online where there's plenty of people that have killed ducks and geese with bismuth in the 410. I think I even seen a mention of a 2.5-inch 410 loaded up with bismuth that have killed ducks or geese. I can't remember which one, but you know, we know it will work. It's just, is it optimal? Can we make it to where we have the best chance with that caliber and that shot to take game lethally, you know, or cleanly? So I think that what I got would work for ducks for sure. If you could get it to pattern just right, you know, it may be great for pheasants, crow, anything that you would have to shoot with non-toxic stuff if you wanted to shoot with 410, that's for sure. One thing that we also have to understand too, this is a 410. The 410, you know, when you leave TSS, when that's not there, this gun turns into what a lot of people will tell you, and I'll tell you too, it turns into the expert's gun. You need to have your stuff together if you plan on shooting things that are moving around in the air with a 410. Even with TSS, it's just that TSS makes this thing shoot literally like a 12 gauge. But when you get into steel, when you get into any other shot, the pellet count is so low that we have to compress that pattern, and it's very hard to do in a 410. As you can see, you're having to shoot modified and full at 35 yards. Even a 30-inch circle is not completely full. Really, right there, you've got about a 20-inch area, I'd say, that has a real nice pattern, a nice core. So maybe 25 on the modified. But anyway, hit the subscribe button down there. And like I said, that little bell, it'll notify you whenever I put out a new video out. That seems like something, you know, I don't know if you don't subscribe, I don't understand how people find out if a video's out. But anyway, giveaway, all right? We're getting about halfway to 1,000 subscribers. I'm just gonna have to do a video on the giveaway to kind of announce it. That way, maybe when people see it, that they'll subscribe. But basically, all you have to do is just be a subscriber. And once we get to 1,000 videos, YouTube has a way that I can actually, I see who all is subscribed. And if your username is there, we can go with software and do a random draw, and somebody's name will be pulled out. I'll contact you, and then I'll have a gift pack. Right now, I think what I'm going to do is something with maybe new hulls, maybe once fired hulls. I think we might go with new hulls. We'll probably do some wads. I might look at maybe doing some type of roll crimper, for a certain type of gauge. Maybe some shot. I don't know what we'll do. I'm still trying to figure it out, but basically it's just to drive subscription up on the channel. So, but anyway, thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a good one, and what little time there is left of duck season, good luck. Thanks.